The next era of air combat is here. The United States and China are racing to dominate the skies with their 6th-generation fighters. The U.S. Air Force's next-generation air dominance, or NGAD, is being hailed as America's best bet against the rising threat of China's mysterious J-36 stealth fighter. With cutting-edge stealth, AI integration, and unmatched air superiority, who will rule the skies in the next generation of aerial warfare? Join us as we break down this high-stakes battle for air dominance. Let's dive in. The USAF officials were speaking at the Air and Space Forces Association, ASA, 2025 Warfare Symposium in Colorado. The discussions centered around air superiority, with several officials agreeing that it will remain crucial for winning future battles. A senior USAF official, General Kenneth Wilsbach, head of Air Combat Command, which manages the USAF's fighter, reconnaissance, and electronic warfare fleets, said the Chinese 6th-generation fighter is designed for air superiority roles. 6th-gen aircraft are for air superiority, Wilsbach said, referring to the photos of the Chinese 6th-generation aircraft that surfaced in December 2024. "We know what that's for. What are we going to do about it? I don't believe nothing is an option." China flew two 6th-generation fighter jet prototypes on December 26th, and photos of them were posted on social media. Of the two, the larger tailless supersonic stealth aircraft developed by Chengdu Aircraft Corporation, CAC, has been designated the Chengdu J-36, while the other aircraft, developed by the Shenyang Aircraft Corporation, SAC, has been named the J-50 by military watchers and pundits. China's next-generation aircraft program remains shrouded in secrecy, much like its other sensitive military programs. However, the two 6th-gen fighter jet prototypes seem to have low observable stealth characteristics, including an internal weapons bay, blended-wing fuselage, and lack of vertical stabilizers. Though General Wilsbach has presumed that the aircraft will primarily be used for air superiority, China has not revealed the exact role of the 6th-generation fighter jets, as it did with its 5th-generation J-20 Mighty Dragon. In fact, responding to General Wilsbach's remarks, a popular PLA analyst, Rick Zhou said on social media site X, "It would be helpful if this assists in setting the mainstream opinion on the role of J-36 and the SAC jet in a faster way than the slow, painful process we had to endure for J-20. Since the two prototypes were spotted, some analysts have predicted that the next-generation Chinese fighter would either be a bomber or a fighter bomber with a supplementary air-to-air role, whereas others have pitted it against the F-22 and the next-generation US NGAD, assuming it would be an air superiority fighter jet. In a previous article for The Diplomat, Rick Zhou said that the Chinese language grapevine that foresaw this aircraft generally refers to it as the PLA's next-generation air supremacy aircraft. Kinematic maneuvering is also expected, however, with less emphasis on within visual range domains and greater emphasis on higher speeds. The aircraft is primarily air-to-air oriented, though strike is a viable secondary role, he noted. While the role of the J-36 cannot be independently confirmed, controlling the air has so far been considered essential to conducting operations on land and at sea. Moreover, experts and analysts have widely agreed that the Russia-Ukraine war has dragged on for more than 3 years because neither side was able to establish air superiority, which is often considered to be decisive in the battlefield. Without air superiority, the war enters a stalemate. The USAF officials at the ASA 2025 War Symposium focused on the significance of air superiority, stating that America's enemies were developing their means to achieve air superiority to deny that advantage to the US, an indirect reference to China. The officials said, almost in unison, that the idea of air superiority is evolving to make greater use of space, autonomous aircraft, and non-kinetic capabilities, but air superiority is still necessary for operations if the U.S. is to win any future war, no matter the cost. Major General Joseph D. Kunkel, the Air Force's Director of Force Design, Integration and Wargaming said, "We know what it takes to win. It takes air superiority. And if America wants to make those investments to win, then we'll do so. If America doesn't want to make those investments, then we'll take more risk." That said, the discussions on air superiority also led to the discussion on the U.S. Next Generation Aircraft Program, the NGAD, whose future remains unknown amid fiscal uncertainties. NGAD is more viable option for the U.S. In light of the uncertain future of the Air Force's 6th-generation fighter jet, service officials said that the Next Generation Air Dominance program is the best means of securing the air in upcoming battles. Many of you know we put a pause on NGAD, and we put a pause on NGAD to reflect, and we did a study on it, Air Force Major General Joseph Kunkel said. With that study, we asked ourselves some hard questions, he continued. Is air superiority dead? What does air superiority look like in the future? Does the joint force need air superiority? And what we found is, not only in the past, not only the present, but in the future, air superiority matters. Kunkel further added, "We tried a whole bunch of different options, and there was no more vital option than NGAD to achieve air superiority in this highly contested environment." As previously explained by the Eurasian Times, the NGAD was initially intended to partially replace the F-22 Raptors in the USAF. However, it has been put on hold due to its high costs and the need to prioritize resources for other important programs. One unit of NGAD would cost $250 million to $300 million US, nearly 3 times more than the F-35. This is why the US halted the program in the summer of 2024, reviewed its requirements, and ultimately postponed a decision on its future until the incoming Trump administration. Notably, though, the USAF Secretary Frank Kendall said in an interview in January 2025 that the current Air Force leadership's decisions on the Next Generation Air Dominance program and the service's overall strategic outlook were unaffected by the appearance of new Chinese combat aircraft. "I've been watching China modernize their military for quite a while," Kendall said. "They're working aggressively to build a military designed to keep the U.S. out of the Western Pacific, and I think, over time, they have more ambitions than even that." Kendall emphasized that the air and space forces have strategic priorities that need to be considered and evaluated against different NGAD approaches. However, he added that price wasn't the only issue, expressing worries that threats and changing technology also called for a review. "My operators were not 100% sure they had the right airplane," he said. "And I agree with that. I think it's really worthwhile to think carefully about what is essentially an F-22 replacement. Is that really the right new design?" However, as the Trump administration debates over the program, there appears to be an emerging consensus that the NGAD is the best platform to take on the challenge posed by the air superiority aircraft developed by its adversaries. Kunkel admitted that budgetary constraints remain the greatest obstacle to the NGAD family of systems, which consists of a crewed fighter at its core and the Collaborative Combat Aircraft CCA. Air Force leaders at the symposium emphasized the significance of NGAD. However, they also stated that they are still in the process of discussing how the military would attain air superiority, and that they will continue to be open-minded about new ideas in addition to the NGAD. A host of other ideas, including non-kinetic, means like electronic warfare and cyber techniques, are also being studied. There is still no final decision on what should be done about the NGAD combat fighter, or how that aircraft will ultimately look, if at all. Nonetheless, it is now evident that the USAF has determined that purchasing a fleet of new crewed 6th-generation stealth combat fighters is the best course of action.